I own the brand Paparazzi and Twisty Pearl Productions and Fusion Foods 99. And today I'm going to, and this is my earring time. This, these are the stiletto earrings that I'm wearing. So today I'm going to talk about how artistic skills alone are not enough to be a costume designer or art director, because visual thinking, visual reasoning is very different from having artistic skills alone. If to learn to paint and draw, anybody can do it with practice. You know, to know how to shade, to know how to draw, practice is essential, and even people who do not have artistic bent of mind can do that. So you can learn skills of drawing and painting with practice, but if you want to be an art director, costume designer, if you want to be a set designer, when you know uh, do any work for films or television, or if you create your own show for YouTube channel, it's not necessary that you have to work in the industry to be a set designer or to be a costume designer. Even if you're creating your own show for YouTube channel, you know, you need to understand the important aspects of visuals, which are very important when it comes to create a visual in the form of set design and costumes that is essential part of whatever you put in front of the camera. So what when you choose this field of art and design, don't think that if you're good at pattern drafting, if you understand garment construction, that's enough. Even tailors, are good at garment construction. Even masters are good at garment construction, but they cannot become designers because they do not have visual reasoning and that kind of imagination. You know, so to be a visualizer is a certain mental aspect, your mental bent of mind, that is essential to create apt set designs that, sit well with the theme that you're making, whatever is the movie or whatever is the show that you're creating. So that requires visual reasoning and visual intelligence, which not every person who can paint and draw has. So, say you're working for a movie and you want to create sets that sit well with the story. You want to create costumes that are apt for the story of the characters. So, you need a certain kind of visualizing, reasoning that only a creative bent of mind will understand. So to know if you have high visual, aesthetical, reasoning and intelligence and visualization, there are a lot of online tests available which you can take and know how your brain functions. Is it really made to do analytical thinking, analytical work, or visual work, or logical work? You can do that. I got 90% in visuals in the test that I've taken. So I've scored highest in visuals and analytical thinking. So you can take that test and know this is not something anybody can teach you. The field of art and design, especially if you want to be a costume designer, set designer, visualizer, you need to have that kind of, visual reasoning. Your mind needs to be like that. Else you will not be able to succeed. You will not even be able to get what your clients are asking for. You know, sometimes they just have an idea, but it's you, your talent, your creativity that comes into picture to create something practically executable, for your clients, whether they are from the industry or even if you're doing an individual work. So, to create something that's visually interesting, that goes well with your storyline, even if you make a movie, you need to have a good artistic aesthetic sense. Aesthetics are essentially important because even if you are doing costumes for a rural theme, you still need to have aesthetics. ऐसा नहीं है that, if it is a rural theme or if the movie is, set in a village, you don't need visuals. You can just come up with anything. If you use aesthetics in every creative work that you do, the work is going to look very different. So you need to understand when you do set design or when you do costume design or creative visuals for a show or for a movie or even your individual work, no matter what you're designing, whether it's graphic design or whether it's costume design or any artwork, aesthetics are very important. That kind of visualizing, everybody has a very different idea about it. There are no standard rules. You cannot, say that this is right and that is wrong, or you cannot set rules saying that this is the standard or the benchmark or the gospel that you need to follow. As and that is the beauty of artistic field. You create your own rules. So to create something that's visually appealing, regardless of the theme, you need to have knowledge about colors, color combinations, patterns. You need to have visual imagination. You need to have very high level of aesthetic sense. Now, aesthetic sense is just not about creating beauty. It is about creating, costumes or set design that sit well with the storyline. Your aesthetic sense is applicable in every field of art and design, regardless of what theme you choose, regardless of what story you're working on. Unless and until you do that, your output is not going to look good. Okay, so don't think that if you have to use your aesthetics only if you have to create uh, themes or designs uh, related to urban themes. Even if you choose folklore, if you choose, you know, mythology, or you choose anything that needs art, costumes, design, set, you need aesthetic sense for that. So you need to be a visualizer with good sense of maths. You need to know how to blend colors well. You need to have that kind of visual thinking and visual imagination blended with the math of balancing the design pattern for whatever theme you're working on. So don't think that if you know to paint, if you have learned to paint, if you have learned to shade, or if you're a very good illustrator, you can be a visualizer. As an there's a difference. You need to have that bent of mind to create visuals that are apt for the storyline. That's why there are different departments in television and film industry when it comes to the art department. Not everybody can do everything. Someone is good at illustrating, someone is good at visualizing, someone is, good at constructing garments. So that's why art department has different people who are good at what they do. So when you want to choose work as a costume designer, art director, you need to keep these things in your mind. Do you have creative imagination? Are you good at visualizing? Visualizing and having artistic skills are two different things. It's good to have artistic skills. If you have artistic skills, if you can paint and design, that is your handwork. It means you're good at using your hands and to create artistic work. But are you able to create something when a theme is given to you that looks visually appealing and apt? That's where the challenge comes, if you have visual reasoning or not. So, if you're from the field of fashion design, you need to give yourself this homework and check what themes you can work on, how well you can do it. So, that's how you keep increasing your aesthetic sense. That's how you practice how to think visually in terms of different, themes and stories and characters and the background that requires. So those who are interested in working in television and film industry, or those who are even creating their own content, making their own movies or shows, you need to look into these aspects. So I hope you find my read very informative. Don't blindly enter this field just because you have artistic talent. That is not enough. I'd like to stress this because a lot of people enter this field from different backgrounds and feel that they're not getting enough, they're not succeeding, nobody's giving, nobody's going to spoon feed you. Even if you join an institute to learn the craft, nobody's going to spoon feed you. So be very clear about this when you want to choose the firm of arts, art direction, visualizer, creative director, costume designer, film director, music composer. Even music composition requires creative imagination. It's not enough if you know how to, if you have knowledge about music. So creative fields are like that. If you want to enter a creative field, whether you want to work in the industry or create your own individual work, you need to check this about yourself. Do you have visual imagination? Do you have visual reasoning? Visual reasoning is essential to create work for films and television, as a set designer, as a costume designer, as art director, as creative director. Okay, remember this. Thank you.